ATV slapped with a $200,000 fine for failing to pay its license fees. No government promise of abolition of functional constituencies in 2020. And Shinzo Abe says Islamic State militants will have to pay for beheading 2 Japanese citizens.
Good evening. Japan says a thorough investigation will be conducted to make sure Islamic State militants pay for the beheading of 2 Japanese citizens. As James Aiken reports, the executions have sparked calls for Japan's military to play a greater role in international security matters.
Outside the Prime Minister's office in Tokyo, an interfaith prayer vigil is dedicated to the 2 executed Japanese hostages.
We are on Japanese people's side because we are sharing the same feelings. We are so sad. We lost two good Japanese people over there.
The killings have shocked the nation, which until recently was not directly embroiled in the fight against Islamic extremists. It is now. Japan's chief cabinet secretary says the country is investigating the killings and will continue working with the international community to make sure the militants pay for this sin. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has also promised to continue with $200 million in non-military aid to countries battling Islamic State. The hostage crisis emerged after Abe made the commitment during a Middle East tour, but some want to go further. Japan's self-defense forces and its missions are limited by the country's U.S.-drafted pacifist constitution. Last year, the Japanese cabinet said it wanted to expand the scope for military rescues as police activity under certain circumstances. Analyst Shuji Hosaka says prioritizing the lives of Japanese nationals would require very specific revisions to the constitution. But despite opposition in parliament, the hostage crisis could be used by Abe to push his conservative agenda. In Iraq, meanwhile, the country's foreign minister said Islamic extremism is already threatening much of the world. He called the fight against Islamic State World War III. As the family of a Jordanian pilot held hostage by Islamic State pleads for his release, a Jordanian committee says the door for negotiation is still open. Jordan has renewed an offer to swap an al-Qaeda prisoner facing execution for her role in a triple hotel bombing in 2005. James Aiken, TVB News.
Thai Prime Minister Prayut Chan-o-cha has ordered an investigation into 2 small explosions outside a luxury shopping mall in Bangkok. The bombs caused little damage, but they have stoked tension in the Thai capital, which remains under martial law. 2 people were slightly hurt in the blasts, which happened at the posh Siam Paragon Mall last evening. The explosions were the first to shake the capital since the military seized power last May to end months of sometimes deadly street protests.
Greece's new government says its priority remains finding a way to make the country's debt load easier to carry. There are fears the country's leftist government could walk away from its debt obligations, triggering a European financial crisis. But a meeting in Paris, the Greek finance minister pledged that Athens was also concerned about the well-being of the Eurozone. Tony Sabine reports.